Alright, so I got a new job and now I don't have a whole lot of time to work on this thing, so the video series might get a little bit messed up, but today we have wheels and tires and we're finally going to get to see where this thing is going to roughly sit. So this is what we went with for tires. It's a 23 10.5 12 Duro, kind of a copy of like a Carlisle All Trail. And they're on 12 by 7 black Steelies. I went with these because I wanted a 23 as opposed to a 20 or a 22. I figured steel wheels, you know, whatever, it's going to be a simple kind of truck looking cart, and I didn't want some flashy like cast aluminum wheels on it. I figured these might be a little bit stronger. And they were cheaper. It was 4 wheels and tires was like $350. And for a little added detail, we're doing spiked lug nuts. So it'll be something like that. So we're gonna go ahead and get this thing on stands and start bolting the new wheels and tires on it. So this is our stock 18 8.5 by 8. This is our
Forces.
Kid. This is our 23 10.5. And if we put this on top, you can see quite a bit more rubber. Let's get him on the cart. Well, she's a bit bigger now, boys, let me tell you. Got our lug nut spikes on. Kyle's finishing up the rears. I just got the tires all bolted up.
Click, click.
That's it. Talbot torque. So if you recall, when we started this, we measured like, I think it was like 8 or 8.5 inches here. And now we're at almost 18, about 17 3/4. So we have plenty of ground clearance, and now we can start kind of figuring out how far down we can go with the motor and that sort of thing. I got a bunch of parts that we have to go through that were ordered in this past week, including a clutch. So we're going to start seeing what the drivetrain's going to look like, but yeah, that's how it's going to sit. I was considering wheel spacers. We'll see what it looks like with the body on. I think it's going to be plenty wide as is. So keep on trucking. So we got this thing in the service position, and we're going to be installing these new brake cable assemblies. So basically the way this works is this yoke type piece gets pulled on, or the shaft rotates when you hit the brake pedal, and it pulls this forward, which pulls on these 2 brake cables, and then they go back into these little receptacles on the brakes back here, and the parking brake is just like a locking mechanism when this goes past a certain point. So the old ones were, one of them was cut, and the rest of it was all like rusted and shit. So we're just gonna go ahead and throw those guys on. And then also we ordered the adjusting rod, is just a piece of fine thread 5/16 threaded rod. So we ordered this from McMaster along with some Nylox. So we're gonna go ahead and get the brake system working on this thing. It's got the new cables run. These are just nice OEM E-Z-GO cables, and set everything new, and they go down, like I showed you before, to these little tabs that activate the drums. And really all that's left is the hardware from the yoke to this yoke, which is a piece of threaded rod that's going to have a big compression spring on it. So this is the old one, which was very rusty and actually broke when we were disassembling it. And this is the new threaded rod, and Kyle's going to prepare to weld this washer on to mimic this little jaw jug there. And then, like I said, here's the compression spring. So we're gonna fire up the TIG, put that thing together, and then assemble it over here with a shit ton of anti-seize, and hopefully our brakes will be all set. So we got our brake system installed and complete. Everything looks pretty good. So we got our brakes all taken care of, and everything seems to be working good now. We actually have the parking brake set currently. So our next item is going to be a brace that spans these two pieces of the front frame section, and it's going to tie into that part of the steering rack. Right now, the steering's pretty stable. You know, there's not a whole lot of slop in it, but it is just an additional point that we can stabilize, especially with the lift and the added force from the bigger tires.
When we fucking send it.
Yeah, dude. So it's going to be a two-piece operation. We got this bar here that's going to span those two pieces, and then there's going to be a second piece that's going to be bent to match this angle because it's not square to those frame sections. So if we come over here to the machine and fabrication department, also, side note, look at the Wapnies. So we got this little piece of plate here, and Kyle cut this nice groove into it, pretty heavy score, and that's what's going to allow us to achieve that bend. And then this focus is the hole that the bolt is going to run through to tie into the steering rack. So a better way to illustrate why we're doing this brace is I'm going to wiggle the steering wheel here in a second, and you can see the play in the front end from it. So it's something where John Deere has a term, accumulation of tolerances, where it might only be a 1/16 of an inch play there, but by the time it gets down to this, I don't know what kind of drop arm you want to call it or whatever, it's up to maybe a 1/4 inch or even a 1/2 inch, and that motion translates into the tie rods. So by stiffening it up with that brace, we'll be able to eliminate a lot of slop in the front end. We got our piece all clamped together, and now Kyle TIG Talbot with the Everlast Power TIG 200DX is going to take it away. Nice, dude. Not too bad for a guy that drives a Dodge. Kyle TIG Talbot, you son of a bitch. So now, go to move the wheel. It moves a cunt here, and the movement that it does move is actually this whole front frame section moving because it's comparatively much thinner than this plate or this bar stock that we used. So mission accomplished there, and now we're gonna keep on keeping on with it.
Wait, so,
Oh,
how much should it move?
approximately 1.2 cunt hairs.
Alright, hold on.
Yep, I think we can confirm that.
Yep, you're right.